Don't let tomorrow's solutions get stuck on today's obstacles. Help move what matters at Iowa State. Iowa State students have big ideas.
My name is Cam Schaefer. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Spock's Sanctuary, which is a exotic companion animal rescue, and we provide other services in education and nutrition.
And it all started with a little help from cyclones like you.
Welcome to Let Him Cook podcast, Nigel. The pre-show that we had was less than optimistic. We've had a tough week all around. You especially. I mean, I just have one team that I'm really attached to. 2.5 of yours. I don't know if you would consider yourself an LSU women's basketball fan, but you've definitely covered a lot of their season. And then plus Duke men, plus Iowa State men. I do want to start here, though, Nigel. It always surprises me. I was at Valera Ballroom for a watch party that I was there working for KCCI, but had 2 different guys come up to me and just talk about the podcast. The age range that our demographic is never ceases to amaze me. I had a guy, I'm guessing in college, younger than both of us, I'm assuming, just come up and say he likes the pod. And then maybe 15 minutes later, I had a guy. And Mark, I don't want to get your age wrong here, but he was much older than college age. So I always forget that like we're talking to a wide variety of Iowa State fans. But I want to always tell you about that, Nigel, because Alexandria, I'm guessing we don't have too many Let Him Cook listeners in central Louisiana. But always appreciate good words about the podcast when I'm out in the wild. So, and Valera Ballroom, that was a really cool place to watch a Iowa State basketball game. I've seen it at like sports bars. You kind of see the big watch party stuff, but in a ballroom, I mean, they just had this huge wooden floor, open space, bunch of tables, bunch of Cyclone fans. So it was a cool venue, cool place to watch an Iowa State game. Unfortunate that it was the Iowa State game that happened against Illinois. I'm going to start here. We saw a slow start against Washington State. Iowa State, I don't know, shot 1 for 10 to start that game, it felt like. And then before you knew it, Illinois was up 11-2. And you just can't come out slow against an offense like Illinois, or they're going to just pile it on quickly. I think that was almost a difference in the game, was the start of the game. It ended up being a 3-point difference by the end of the game. But if you don't start down 11-2, I think it's a completely different outlook of that game.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say let's love for anyone who comes up to Dill. And believe it or not, there are a few people who come down here and say they like the pod. Like, shout out to St. Mary's basketball coach, Jake Bankston.
Heck yeah.
Regular pod listener. He told me back in January he put money on Iowa State to win it all. So wow. He's a real one. That. He's a real one. But he was like, he was telling me we should do like a March Madness preview for like the whole tournament, which is what we kind of did. But yeah, no, he's a cool guy. So to answer your question about Alexandria people, showing love, he's one of them. But yeah, no, bad week for me. Pray for me, please. I've been through the gauntlet this week of emotions, and I've had to like suppress a lot of them because I've been at work, so we got to like stay professional. And there's a lot of words I want to say in the corporate office, but I can't. So pray for me. Anywho. Yes, no, to get back to your point, to start off 11-2 to Iowa State, Iowa State to Illinois, not the best ideal start, obviously, just because you want a game like that off the rip to kind of just be back and forth, if anything, or you want to be the team jumping out to that kind of lead. But I think it really came down to just like poor scouting. Like, I don't know whose idea it was. We've been a team this year that has been trapping the post all year, and we've been really good at it because people are able to recover from help side really well. But for whatever reason, in a game where your 1 through 3 can really shoot the ball, hey, let's start trapping the wings so someone is always wide open, and all Illinois has to do is just rotate the ball to the opposite side, and there's an open 3-pointer. And most of the time, it was Terrence Shannon. Like, I don't like coming after coaching staffs because it's like I know you guys put in a lot of effort and time into scouting, and I know that Sweet 16 the round of 32 to Sweet 16 is a quick turnaround, and it's almost like too much time too because it's like it's not like the Elite Eight and Sweet 16 where it's like only a day in between the games. I feel like there's sometimes too much time from the round of 32 to the Sweet 16 to where you're overthinking things, and I think the decision to trap the wings when we've never really done that all year, especially against a team that can't shoot the ball, I think was a very, very poor choice. Poor choice. And I think it was just like we're overthinking how to like throw something new at them that they've never seen before when it's just like, bro, let's just stick to what we've been doing because it's been working. And I think really that was just like we kind of shot ourselves in the foot essentially. And it just sucks to see, as good of a season as we had this year fall to, out of all teams, Illinois, because it's like that's such a beatable team. And yeah, Terrence Shannon was unbelievable. And half of his shots came just like uncontested, wide open threes. So if I think just if the game plan is different going in to Thursday, I think we have a different result. I think we might be still playing.
Yeah. And I was thinking the same thing, especially in that first half. I had a high school coach that always told me the ball moves faster than bodies can. So, like on offense, do exactly what Illinois did. Rotate like the ball around the horn, get it to the open shooter. Because no matter how good you are at recovering, if you're pulling that weak side defender to come trap, he's leaving that guy wide open in the corner. And if that ball can get there faster than that weak side defender can, a guy like Terrence Shannon is going to be open in the corner every single time. And at some point, and what it was with Domask, they call it booty ball, just backing down Lipsy into the post. We'd bring the trap, they'd swing it around, there'd be an open 3-point shooter. I don't know what, like, I get that it's our identity. We're going to trap in the post when they get it down low, but they were begging for it. I mean, that is what they came in wanting to do, was to get trapped in the post. They wanted our defense to work. And I saw it with BYU, and it was eerily similar with Illinois, where they were intentionally getting trapped to be able to swing the ball around. And not every team can do that. Not every team has a Terrence Shannon. Not every team has a Marcus Domask. But there are going to be teams like BYU, like Illinois. I would guess Alabama would give us a lot of trouble. UConn would have probably given us a lot of trouble. Any team where you have smart, disciplined passing and a lot of good perimeter shooters, that's going to be a problem. And not every college team is built like that. And luckily, a lot of teams in the Big 12 aren't built like that. Kansas, bad shooting team. Houston is streaky. So we're able to kind of get through the Big 12. But come March Madness, do you think this defense – because I think almost no matter where you put us, I still think Iowa State got a bad draw. But almost anywhere in March Madness, you're going to have to play a team like Illinois to get to the Final Four. Do you think this defense, as good as it is, the number one defense in the country, but it has such a Achilles heel that if a team is built like that, it's really hard to stop them with the way we play defense. Do you think if we stick to this, we can get to a Final Four?
If you can't guard the three ball?
I mean, yeah, if you trap in the post against a good 3-point shooting team or trap with the wing like we did against Illinois.
I just think, like, you have enough good defenders to where you don't need to trap all the time. Like,
yeah,
I'm a very big NBA 2K player, but I play with a lot of strategy. Like, I'm throwing presses at teams. I get it because it throws the computer off, let alone a real person. So
right.
At times, yes, it's necessary, but for it to be like the second someone, because Brad Underwood openly admitted he hadn't watched us all year. So the first time he's watching us is that week. And he's immediately saying a huge trend. We trap everything when I think we have the defenders and just good enough help defense to where we can kind of fake and fade off help side to where like you don't need to do that all the time. You can just play people straight up. As many charges we take all year, I don't understand why it always has to be a trap like scenario. If a ball's in the corner and he's got the ball above his head and he's like panicking, looking like the refs counting, yeah, then you go throw a trap at him. But I don't think it's always necessary just because, the ball's in the post, let's trap. Like, bro, just sit there, wait, boom, take a charge. Especially Taman, out of all people. Yeah. Like, because you got Domask on you, who's a huge offensive threat for them. I feel like you put them in foul trouble immediately. And it just seems like, yeah, if that is our Achilles heel, no, we won't even make the Elite Eight going forward. Yeah. But I just don't think – I think sometimes we, like, question our own ability of being defenders if we're always throwing traps at people, because it's like, how do we even trust ourselves to play one-on-one defense ever? You know what I mean? And I just feel like you're right. Yes, we did get a bad draw. Yes, that was the worst region to be in this tournament. And of course, UConn got out of it because they've just been on – I don't know what they ate for breakfast, but my God. and I knew it. I knew the second Illinois won, I was like, man, this is ridiculous, because I thought we would put up a fight because we kind of cut from the same tough-minded cloth that UConn is. But I knew Illinois was not ready for that. And yes, they played a great 15 minutes. And then, in the great words of Chris Paul, shit got bad real fast. 30-0 lead, 30 bones, 30-0. Oh my God. They were shooting threes. Things were bouncing in. The white guys were dunking on them. Oh my, it was gross. It was gross. It got gross. Anywho, to answer your question, yes, I do think if you can't figure out how to guard the three, buddy, what are we doing? Like, that's where the game is translating. I know a lot of teams that are in the Final Four right now, everyone's playing through their big. But those teams can also shoot. They also have enough people around them that can shoot. So I think if your Achilles heel on defense is we can't guard the three, we better be able to knock it down consistently. And honestly, man, it kills me that out of all people that didn't show up to perform, it was Milan.
Yeah.
And I know he's a freshman, but this entire year, he's played like a sophomore/junior. So to get that kind of performance, I think that was more of an Achilles heel than just guarding the three ball, because Illinois is going to make shots. You got to live with that. But I think if we don't trap each wing, and like you said, the ball moves faster than we do, I think there's a different result. You know, I just think if the game plan's a little bit different and Milan is shooting a bit more confidently. But I mean, I also feel like us as fans, we kind of put it out there. We manifested it in the world of like, if Milan doesn't make the first shot, it's over. And then boom, what happened? I mean, it's tough, man. It was a really tough way to go out on such a good year. And it's weird because like I told you in the pregame show, how I felt like Duke beating Houston was such a setup. I felt like it was such a fake happiness, I felt. And I felt the same way. And I didn't want to put bad vibes going into the tournament, but I felt the same way when we beat Houston as bad as we did in the tournament. Because I was like, this almost feels like the peak of our season. And unfortunately, I was right. Because as good as we played against South Dakota State, we are in a bit of a back and forth battle with Washington State. And then we just totally hit a wall in plateau against Illinois. So it sucks that, you know, as good of a year as this was, it had to end like that.
Yeah, and I think the defense got a lot of, me included, just like frustration. I think Illinois scored 15 points less than their average. So like, even though we're giving up open shots, as a whole, the defense did their job, kind of. The offense was just not good. You could basically, you mentioned Momcilovic. Basically, anyone besides Curtis Jones probably could have played better. Rob Jones really struggled. Keyshawn Gilbert at times, I thought, and his is tough because coming out of halftime, Iowa State's down 10, and I think luckily down 10. At times, kind of towards the end of that first half, you're like, hey, if we can cut this to 7, be down by 6 at halftime, we got a real chance. We played 20 minutes of bad basketball. Ended up being down 10 going into half. And then I think Keyshawn came out on one, and he was like, we're not going out like this. But then I think he just has to be able to – I think what it is competitiveness. And I don't know Keyshawn personally, but he seems like the guy that, you know, down 10, getting punked kind of the way we were, took it personal, wanted to come out and make a statement, and really got us back in the game. I mean, we were down 2 so many times, it felt like, throughout that second half, where we had the ball and we could either tie it or take the lead with the 3. But then he just would do a little too much. And that's kind of been a theme with him throughout the season. That's not new, where you just got to slow it down. You have to trust our half-court offense, as ugly as it can be sometimes. I would rather do that. We're not skilled enough offensively to just kind of go by the seat of our pants. Like we saw kind of Fred Hoiberg teams, a lot of times it just George Niang would bring the ball up and they would play like pickup ball. I mean, they're just playing like let guys get open. We're so good on offense. We don't really have to do anything. This team needs offensive. They just need structure on offense. We don't have a guy that can go get a bucket on his own. We don't have a Brockington. We don't have a Shayok. We don't have a Niang. So to kind of see us basically let our half-court offense go out the window, and on the other side in the second half, Illinois started to try to play iso ball. They kind of went away from that ball movement that was getting them open threes, and I was like, "Here, this is now. It's now or never." And to see the offense, like you said, it just kind of plateaued. No one could make shots. We went 13 for 28 on layups and dunks. Come on, man.
Bro, it got to the point where I'm like, are these guys throwing the game? Did the mob hit them up before and like, hey, it's Illinois. It's Illinois money line. All right. Do what you got to do. Because, bro, when Keyshawn was going down the middle of the lane, bro, I about broke my TV.
Yeah.
Man, they're in an alternate universe. I'm at Best Buy buying a new TV after that possession.
The other one that I still can't keep out of my head, especially that it ended up being a 3-point game, is I want to say it was Dill Mask thrown an entry pass to Dane Danger. And I think Curtis Jones tipped it. It ricocheted off Rob Jones' hand, hit off the backboard for like the easiest putback layup I've ever seen. Yeah. And it felt like a Brock Purdy play when he was at Iowa State, where it's just like the weirdest shit you've ever seen in whatever game you're playing happens, and it's at the expense of Iowa State. I was like, I've watched so much basketball in my life. I've never seen that happen, where a guy tips it, it gets deflected twice, hits off the backboard, wide open. Never seen that my whole life. And like at that point, it's like in life there are bugs and windshields, and it felt like we were a bug that was getting hit by a windshield. And like it just the way Iowa State lost that game was so uncharacteristically of this team. Like it was a close game. All I was saying the whole time during the game was if we can have this be close under 5 minutes, I like our chances. Iowa State has been so good at closing out games. And, you know, we have a tight game down the stretch. And like you said, I think a sequence that's going to play in my mind and probably Milan Momcilovic's mind until the season starts next year is that he was just lazy with the pass, and Terrence Shannon stole it, breakaway dunk, and that was basically curtains. And in the final, I think it was the last 2 minutes, you can't be lazy with that pass. And that sucks that it was him, because I'm sure he feels that weight more than anyone of I messed that up and that's on me as a freshman when like a lot of your teammates are seniors and aren't going to get that chance again. So I hope he does. I mean, that's growth. You've been in that moment and you can't do that again. But man, just like you said, just not only did we lose, but we lost in a way that Iowa State hasn't really lost.
We got
especially
punked.
Like that.
Yeah, we got punked. It was
like
that's as simple as it is. And it just sucks, man, because like you said, the way it happened and who it happened to, like I know Milan is gonna be in the gym like an animal this year. And maybe this is a blessing in disguise, because like majority of the team, I think this is a very like optimistic like way to look at this season, is majority of the team is coming back. Now I know a lot of people are already in the portal. Most of our bench is in the portal, which I mean that's kind of if you haven't realized it in 3 years, it's kind of TJ's style. If you're not playing and you're not like averaging at least above 4 points a game and not doing anything on defense, like he's gonna tell you to hit the portal. That's just how it is. I mean that's how cutthroat it's been since he's gotten here. Like the people from the 2 and 22 team, it was only a handful of kids he kept, and it was only off of like necessity that he needed to keep them. Because I think had he had options, Jaden Walker, Trey Jackson, as good as they are, I think they're still gone, because he wants as many of his guys as he can get in there as possible from that Prom era. But yeah, no, I think man, like we're still in a great position because that 3-headed snake of our guards are coming back. Milan's coming back. And I just think the rest of it is what can we do in the portal? And I think a run like this definitely gives you some leverage. I think we really turned a lot of heads this season outside of the tournament. And I really think it can do us a big favor just because, we've been through a lot, man. And it sucks that we just keep getting to the Sweet 16 in TJ's era and we just can't seem to get over that hump because you always want to see like year-in-year improvement. But I mean, yeah, I just feel like there's a lot of things to look forward to going forward. That I don't want to think about the Illinois loss too much because we know it went wrong, and we know what we could have done better, and we know that it's just, of course, like this is the day where you miss half your layups. Like when has that ever been a problem? So it's just it sucks, man. I hate that this is how the year had to end. Especially like if people from Iowa think they're hurting over the Illinois loss, brother, I was getting cooked on Thursday night by everybody in sight. My phone was blowing up like I had just played 48 minutes of basketball. It was crazy. Just couldn't swat him away. Everybody was coming out the woodworks. I was like, "You're an Illini fan? What, grandma? Leave me alone. Like, what's going on? Come on." But yeah, man. I mean, if anyone's hurting right now, it's me. Just to see who we lost to. Hey, who Iowa State lost to. Duke lost to her little brother. LSU lost to Iowa. Like, bro, I couldn't catch a break this week. I really couldn't catch a break this week. And it's made me like think like this tournament kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Like I hate to be the March Madness guy of like, if my team's not winning, it sucks. No, the kind of what, like how you felt, Dylan, of just like, I thought about it really, because I know you're another guy that enjoys the tournament just for ball purposes. Like Iowa State doesn't have to go make a Final Four for you to enjoy the tournament. But when you think about from the Thursday that it started, pound for pound, this has really been a weak tournament. Like the games haven't even gone down to the wire. A lot of the gameplay has been very boring. And again, it's because the bracket isn't even. Like even a FAU Northwestern game that I thought was gonna be really good. It went to overtime, but after overtime, like FAU just laid an egg. Like, and a lot of teams just laid eggs this year. And I don't know if that's just like Vegas called, we got to stop playing hard. Like, I don't know, but man, it can never be this lopsided ever again from the jump. Cause we could kind of predict this the second we found out who was playing who. Like UConn did have the easiest path despite being in the hardest region. It's the weirdest, like it essentially made it very hard for everyone else in that region to even make it to play UConn. And then the team who ended up playing UConn was not ready to play UConn.
Right.
And it's so frustrating because I feel like it all could have been prevented. I feel like this was a good enough college basketball season to where like it deserved a good tournament. And I feel like we didn't get that. And if this was all just to see Zach Edey and Klingon just have a big man off, like I'm not trying to. What is this? The 60s? Ain't nobody trying to see that. It's just, man, and it's like I don't want people to think, well, this is the basketball is going backwards now. Like we're all gonna try to get this big back to the basket 5 guy. Like no. This is just like Zach Edey's been in school for 7 years. Like it's about time he made a Final Four. He should have made one his freshman year when he was still 7'4". But I'm just saying, I think this tournament was very weak, and I just hope next year can be better.
On the subject of Zach Edey, and he's gonna catch a stray here. His whole thing of like nobody believed in me, dog. You are 7'4", and you went to IMG Academy, and like had offers from everybody on earth, and went.
And you
to,
play
like,
for the Canadian national team, mind you.
Like, what are we doing here, Zach Edey? You're 7'4". I hope to God that you're decent enough at basketball to be a D1 player.
But he didn't even need a ladder to cut the net. He just started. He just reached up and like. If I was 7'4", I'd be throwing I'd be Christian Laettner. I would be throwing elbows and I'd be dunking everything. I wouldn't be moving like a 78-year-old man. He's something else, man. He's something
And
else.
here's the thing is like Zach Edey, and I think this is kind of what hurts college basketball. Zach Edey, I think as much as I don't like him, you kind of have to admit he probably is the best player in college basketball. And then you look at the NBA and Victor Wembanyama is the same height as him. And the things that Victor Wembanyama are doing, Zach Edey can't
They
dream
are not
of.
the same.
So I think it just hurts college basketball as a whole, where you see two guys the same height, both dominating. Well, maybe Wembanyama not. I mean, he's close, but and just that they're the same height and doing such drastically different things. And Wembanyama is like 4 years younger than Edey. I think I'd like. We talk about aura a lot. I think Zion Williamson had an aura. I mean, that you had to watch Zion Williamson. I don't care if you lived in California or Durham, North Carolina, you were watching Zion Williamson. Zach Edey doesn't
Obama
have
showed up
that.
to the games. Like, come on,
Right.
bro. It was different.
Zach Edey does not have that. There's not too many players in college basketball right now that have that. And I think that is what has hurt men's college basketball to an extent, is there's no player that I'm like, man, I got to sit down and watch. Dalton Connect, I love watching play. And then like RJ Davis, Caleb Love, they both kind of went out sad. Like there just hasn't been I mean, sorry to bring him up. DJ Burns is awesome. I love me some DJ Burns. I know he just kind of, I don't want to focus on it too long. That's the one guy, though, where I've been like, yo, I want to sit down and watch 40 minutes because I want to watch DJ Burns just look like a grizzly bear with ballerina feet. I mean, that's must see TV for me, but I don't think he has a national appeal other than that it's funny because he looks like a left tackle and he's beating Duke. But you're right. I think it has been a weak tournament. You had Alabama Clemson as an Elite Eight game. I'd rather watch those teams play football. Yeah, it just hasn't been a great tournament. And like you said, I don't think I'm biased because Iowa State lost. The first week I was like, there wasn't enough upsets. And then I feel like in the second weekend, there was almost too many.
Yes. They like trying to make up for the first round. I'm like, no, bro, right. you set this up. This was all you. This was all you, bro. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God, dude. It's been bad. It's been bad. Because it's like, I feel like they were listening to the podcast. Because when I was like, I see right through you. You want to have a Caleb Love, RJ Davis matchup. And they're like, guys, they're on to us. Let's shake some shit up. Clemson, Alabama, just give it to them. They're like, that's a football matchup. Like, I don't care. Just give it to them. And it just seemed like it was like panicked. Like let's change the script real quick. And man, it's bad. When I start thinking like there's like different script angles, bro, it's a bad tournament. I've never had that thought in my mind up until this year because it was just so obvious. Like it was like you're either doing this or you're just setting these teams up for failure to like make an early exit. So these teams that we really haven't paid attention to, like Oakland and NC State, like can make a run. And mind you, while we're on the topic of NC State, when I went back and realized that Virginia, the team that scored 14 points in the first half of their NCAA tournament play-in game, when I found out that they were the reason they're even in the Final Four right now, oh my God, I almost wanted to find Tony Bennett right now and just shake him. Just shake him. Like, what is wrong with you? This is all your fault. Oh my God.
Also, Virginia, it started with Virginia not fouling up 3. And anybody that knows me, I am like the biggest proponent of fouling up 3. I have no idea why you never would.
He's such a defensive guy. You would think he'd have the IQ to even like that's an obvious. Like you foul him.
Yeah. No,
just let the white kid just shoot it. We're good. We haven't seen this book before. Like, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? And it's been a bad tournament, man. It's been a bad tournament.
It's been bad. Let's pivot a little.
Yeah.
Because I had kind of a long tweet thread about just how much appreciation I have for this team. Maybe I feel it a little more that I live here, but even when I think it was Steph Curry first, you see like a lot of kids in middle school, and now I think it's partly because of Caitlin Clark shooting threes from like the logo as a 7th grader. No disrespect to Steph Curry or Caitlin Clark. No 7th grader should be doing that. I don't care what AAU team you're on. If you're either, I don't think we have too many middle schoolers listen to the pod, but if you're a coach or a parent, I don't know if there's a better team for your child to watch, boy or girl, than the Iowa State men's basketball team. Just the way they play team ball, fundamental basketball. I think Tamin Lipsey's on the verge of being, he was an All-American, but I think he's right on the verge of being like, the star of this team, but he wasn't quite there yet this year. He played a lot of great basketball, but I wouldn't call him the star of this team. So to have a team that basically doesn't have the guy, and to be as successful as this team was, the best defense in the country, so good in transition. I mean, we probably got more points off turnover than damn near anybody in the country. There's no whining. There's no complaining from the coach, from the players, top to bottom. There's no excuses. There's so much to love about the team we had this year. And it's just the way they play ball, man. I would have never thought, especially the Iowa State basketball I watched growing up, watching Hilton come to their feet because of a Tamin Lipsey just interception, pick six, layup, and just watching the crowd explode for smart, good defense. Oh my God, that's like just straight out of Dylan Coon fan fiction of college basketball. It is so cool for me to watch us, or if there's like, you see a team trying to find an open shot for like 25 seconds and they just get a shot clock violation and Hilton just erupts because they know that offense couldn't find a damn thing for 30 seconds. That is just music to my ears. And with NIL, with all kind of the transition period that we're in, to find a team with no ego, all bought in for the same goal. I just think it was a really special year. They went undefeated at home. There's so much to love about this team that, with the seniors moving on, Rob Jones, man. Honestly, I just want to talk about Rob Jones for a second. That guy, when he came here from Denver, he just didn't look like a Power 6 back.
Yeah, I was not excited.
That is not a slight on Rob Jones. He just didn't look the part to be here. And the just 180 he's done to be a leader on and off the court, the way he finished 3 feet, 5 feet around the rim has just totally changed the offense. And that picture of him just kind of looking at Hilton after his last home game against BYU, just kind of taking it all in. And he just had such a cool kind of arc as a Cyclone basketball player. Came in after a year they went 2-22, made 2 Sweet 16s, went undefeated his senior year at home. Just like such a great Cyclone, and he's not going to have the stats to, get his jersey retired or anything. But I think everybody remember Rob Jones as kind of an ultimate Cyclone, an ultimate TJ Otzelberger guy. I'm just really happy for him. I'm happy for all the seniors. Rob Jones unfortunately didn't play his best game in his last game, but rarely is that ever the case. Every team besides one loses to end their season in college basketball. So it just sucks. I mean, this team was so much fun to watch, and I think they are my favorite Cyclone team, basketball, football, any sport there is. I think this is my favorite team ever as a Cyclone fan.
Yeah. No, now that we're on the topic of Rob too, the fact that he was able to even make this kind of jump from last year. Don't even think about the other Sweet 16 year. But last year too, because I remember talking to him last year where him, CG, Conrad, and I went to Fuji. Is it Fuji? The steakhouse, right off of the highway. Anywho, and I was just talking to him and he was like, I was like, wait, so what are you trying to do? Because I thought he was going to be done after that, last year, because he's my age. So I thought he was just graduating. And he's like, yeah, I want to do something with math. He wasn't even worried about his I'm trying to go to the league, man. The fact that he that was his thought. He was already thinking about his future last year, and to still see him take advantage of that 5th year and really try to elevate his game to the maximum ability, I thought was really cool to see, just because he was able to, kind of be like, all right, I'm probably not going to go to the NBA. I'm probably, if anything, probably going to have an overseas career or whatnot. And if then it's, that's a if anything, but just to see I'm going to make the most of this last year. I know I got a lot of young guys that I have to lead, and I'm going to lead by example. And it starts with me. And I think just the ability, it looks like such a simple thing to work on it, like a hook shot, but the jump he made and consistency of making those close around the basket shots, it was night and day. It was it was a new player, and it was a new threat on offense. And so to see the jump he made this year too, it makes me sad because it's like, man, I wish, can he come back for a 6th year? Like, geez, like it just it sucks, man. That a lot of guys that really put the work and time in don't get to reap any reward outside of the Big 12 championship, which is a great feat in itself. But yeah, no, it hurts my heart for not only him, but obviously Trey, Hassan, those guys, because they all improved in their own tiny way, especially Hassan. Hassan, he was a freak this year. Like, I think he really was not being able to tap into his full potential last year. And this year, he just did special thing after special thing. And I just think, the days he wasn't in foul trouble, he was the difference maker for us. And so, yeah, no, definitely I'm going to miss that senior front court, especially just because, now it's like, all right, how do we replace that? How do we replace obviously good play, but also kind of that everyday guy role that all three of them fit so well?
Speaking about, we are losing almost our entire front court. Omaha Blue has entered the transfer portal. I think, Taman Lipsy and Keyshawn Gilbert and Curtis Jones are all tremendous defensive players, two-way players. I'm interested to see, especially with how things are now. I think Iowa State had a top 10 recruiting class with Omaha and Momcilovic and Caden Fish and Jelani Hamilton. Momcilovic is the only player returning from that top 10 freshman class, and it doesn't even really feel like that big of a deal. I would have liked to see Omaha come back just because I think we are so good at developing talent at Iowa State and see what, a full offseason can do for him. But besides that, I think Jelani Hamilton would have had a hard time getting playing time. I think depending with what transfers we get, Caden Fish would have been kind of a deep reserve bench player. So, I wish them the best and hope for the best.
Pav, too.
I think the way – yeah, Pav. And same, I think he could go right back to scoring 20 points a game at a mid-major. The kid can shoot. It's just his defense is what's going to have a hard time in the Big 12 or a lot of the major leagues with athletic, fast guards. Does Iowa State, and I think a lot of coaches are kind of asking themselves this, how important is high school recruiting anymore? And it might become more important now that kind of the COVID kids are getting pushed out of school. I think we have 1 year left of COVID year people. But I like the way Iowa State plays basketball, you're going to need guys that are 21 and 22 and have spent 3 years in a college weight program to play the defense we play. I wonder how much they even focus on recruit. I mean, we have 2 good high school kids coming in. I can't pronounce Nojus his last name yet, but I'll learn it. And then Dwayne Pierce, who I really like. I was high on him early. He kind of reminds me of Deontay Burton. So I hope that's kind of what he turns out to be. But I wonder, man, like, are you better off just looking for a guy that can play lockdown defense? And he's at a mid-major right now. And he has, a 7'6" wingspan, and he's just some athletic freak. Like, who cares about a 5-star McDonald's All-American? Let's go get a proven, freak athlete to be a rim protector. Like, how much should Iowa State focus on high school recruiting?
I think, and again, I don't want people to get too caught, because I feel like right now in college basketball, we're real, like, the fact that Cal for like 3 days is on the hot seat is crazy, because he's had a lifetime contract. That man ain't leaving.
Right.
But I think right now we all have a bit too much of recency bias, and I think we're just trying to what I call it, and it's the same in football and basketball. It's the Pat Mahomes effect and the Steph Curry effect. Everyone now thinks we got to shoot threes to win. And in football, everyone thinks, we got to have that dynamic quarterback tight end duo to win games. And for here, I think now we're all drawing to, we just need to go crazy in the transfer portal. No, because as time evolves, those DJ Burns, 4-year dynamic players are not going to be there anymore, because, mind you, like, some of those kids theoretically should have been out of high school, should have been out of college 2 years ago. So, and right. The thing is, DJ Burns redshirted so he could come back. So that's you're dealing with rare cases and people just taking advantage of them. So yeah, I think the more you do try to lean on the transfer portal, you're going to just find Caden Fish, Omaha Blue, Pat, sophomores. It's still going to be essentially up here mentally. If you want to develop defensive guys, you're going to have to develop them out of high school. And it just has to become more of, in your recruiting process, asking coaches, how well does he defend? What is his approach on defense? You know, what kind of athlete is he? Can I develop something in him as a defender? And I think to answer your question, yes, high school recruiting is extremely important. Why? Because I don't see, at the end of the day, I don't see the blue bloods outside of Kansas running away from high school recruiting. I think UConn does a phenomenal job of recruiting out of high school to the point where you only have to go get 2 guys out of the transfer portal to really make a difference, to actually, you know, pursue a national championship. I think Duke is another example of, they're always right there. It's just a matter of, I don't think sometimes you may not get the best transfer portal fits. Like, I don't think Ryan Young was the answer to a national championship because he's a slow 6'10" white kid from Northwestern, you know? So it just, to answer your question, yes, I think high school recruiting is important. I think with more leverage that we gain in success, I think you can still go for Omahas. You guys, we have 2 very promising prospects 35 miles down the road from Ames, in CJ Stinson Jr. and Kiki Dang. If you don't toss them boys an offer, I'm going to lose it, because those are 2 guys that are cut from that cloth of Taman. Like, that essentially, if I said no, that means don't recruit another Taman Lipsey because he wasn't from the transfer portal. Like, bro, you have to you recruit from high school, but it has to be a certain build and DNA of a player from high school. A Milan, a Taman, who essentially, who is a winner in high school. I think those kids are who translate over to success at Iowa State, because Milan, from one of the best high schools in Wisconsin. I mean, people talk about Pewaukee like they're Simeon, you know,
right?
Like they push out talent year in and year out. And mind you, Milan has a little brother who's 6'8". You might want to keep a tab on that kid. And then on top of it, you know, you got the Valley kids who you got Zay Robinson just committed for the football team at Iowa State.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a good person to maybe pull a Julius Peppers, you know, maybe be the 8th man. Obviously, he's not going to be, you know, invested in the basketball 24/7, but have him come in November when bowl season's over, and, you know, ride the bench for a little bit. And if we need defense, put him in the game. He's a crazy athlete. Like, he doesn't need a lot of time to translate. He's used to that quick football to basketball translation. So to answer your question again, I think high school recruiting is important. And as these COVID kids move out, that has to be the foundation. The key is know what type of high school player you want. Don't go at ESPN and just look at numbers. Oh, he's the 47th best incoming freshman. Like, so we should give him an offer. No. Is he a winner? What's his approach on defense? And I guess the last priority was, can he get you a bucket? And I think Taman has developed into the, I can get you a bucket here and there. I can make plays at the end of the day. And Milan is a, I can get you a bucket type of guy. So again, I think just, you got to go for, I think it's important to pay attention in the Midwest to who is winning, and then go in those programs and recruit heavy. We just landed a commit from Oshkosh North.
Yep.
So again, start looking at trends. What are programs that are pushing out guys left in year in and year out? And I think that's got to be your approach. I know TJ, when it comes to recruiting, likes to stay in the Midwest, even to the transfer portal. He's making kids come in aside of Hassan. Most of those kids are Midwest kids. So again, if that's going to be your bread and butter, I think you just have to pay attention to who is going to be the guy everywhere you go. I think the one person that I think would have blown people away at Iowa State is he's going to Duke, but Con Knuppel, I think is his name. He went to Wisconsin Lutheran, and I went back. I did a deep dive on him on YouTube. Got tons of film on him and Milan going at it for years. So I mean, like these kids are cut from the same cloth, and it's just a matter of paying attention to and not losing sight of everything now is in the transfer portal. No. Right now, everything's in the transfer portal because you got guys that are pushing 25. But after those kids have to go, we got to go back to plan A, which is high school recruiting. And again, there's enough talent in the area to stay like Let's recruit high school still. So I think no, if you don't lose sight of high school recruiting, it's by far too more important, because it's like I would rather develop someone and have them become used to the system, and then by year 4 they're a polished machine. Because it feels like when you get these transfer guys, yes, they can translate and give you quick results, but it seems like if we hit a wall in the playoffs, that's all we got of them. There's no more Rob Jones, there's no more Hassan Ward, there's no more Trey King. So we got to be mindful to take pride still in high school recruiting.
And I think you see, and Rob Jones is kind of an odd case because he had 3 years of eligibility when he came here, but you see development. I just can't say enough about how well Iowa State coaching staff has developed players after year 1, after year 2, with Demarion Watson, with Tamin Lipsey, with Rob Jones. I mean, you see it kind of up and down the roster. Guys look way different now than they did when they walked on campus. And kind of what you were saying, I saw Kelvin Sampson, the head coach at Houston, say something similar where like the first thing he looks at is like somebody's character, like just as a human being, like, is this a good young man? Like, is it like you can teach basketball? It's harder to teach character and work ethic. Like those things are kind of instilled in you. And it's hard to do that when you're already 19. If you don't want to work for it, it's going to be hard to teach a kid when he's 19, 20 to really buy in. And I'm not saying that's the case with any of the guys that have transferred out, but with how hard we play on defense, I think Omaha was a guy that is kind of different because his body language didn't take a step back the whole season. And he was a defensive-minded player, and I think he's going to be a great defender. But
yeah, that's the one that got away, in my humble opinion.
That one hurts.
And you saw it coming. We were calling it out in week 2 and 3. So
yeah. But I think character is so important for the way these guys practice in the offseason, for the way they play basketball, the work ethic it takes to wake up at 5 a.m. when your coach is and be running sprints before the sun is up. Like, you just kind of got to be a little different. And I think it is important. Like, go after character before you go after ESPN's whatever they have you ranked. If he's
you got to look at the rankings, because Milan was top 50 in the class. But
yeah, but like he was clearly the best player out of that 4.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean? But again, it's because he translated to this program.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you're in the Prom era, I think Omaha is a top 3 scorer in this, like in that offense, because it's very offensive heavy. Let me get you to the NBA type of vibe. So I don't know, man. It just seems like you got to look for winners. In that ESPN top 100, who is winning? Because there's a lot of good teams, a lot of good players. Bronny James, they'll lose in the semis of state. Who's winning state? Who on that team, like you said, has good character? Who can we develop? Because as a coaching staff, you got to know. You got to have the confidence in yourself. JR, Eric Crawford, Kyle Green, TJ, Nate Schmidt. All those guys have to realize, look, guys, we can develop talent. That's not the problem. Like you said, for the Kelvin Sampson kind of makeup, who has good character? Who's a winner? Who is going to give up something for the sake of the team? But also, who is a part of that top 50 of I can get you a bucket? Because out of 50 people, you tell me Iowa State can't get one of those kids every year that's a winner. I find that very hard to believe, especially after the years we've had. We've just had too much success for people to start just overlooking our program. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Looking ahead, and this is what I kind of wrapped my thread with on Twitter, Iowa State basketball is not going anywhere. I think maybe we take a step back on defense just because we're literally at the top. So the only, like, unless we just think down first, right? Like, we're kind of at the top. So looking ahead, I mean, I don't know if Curtis Jones starts, but just kind of, it's kind of up to him. I think the coaches should lead. I mean, maybe he likes coming off the bench. There's guys like Lou Will and Jamal Crawford that have openly said, I'd rather come off the bench. I don't know if he's like that, but I'd be fine with him being a second unit guy because I think he is so solid. But, the transfer portal's still open. We don't know all what's going to happen. But as of now, on April 2nd, starting 5, Tamin Lipsey, Keyshawn Gilbert, maybe Curtis Jones, Misha Momcilovic, and Deshaun Jackson. And then we still have Demarion Watson. I think JT Rock, I'm so glad that he was on campus this year and not just putting up 40 and 20 every night in South Dakota.
On South Dakota kids.
Man, he would have ate. He would have been the Zach Edey of the South Dakota 4A high school. And then the two new recruits, maybe Dwayne Pierce gets redshirted. I think we might need just his shooting. I think
don't redshirt don't redshirt Dwayne. I forgot we were getting him next year. Don't do that. Bro, he's got that dog.
How's he gonna play?
He's got that dog.
I know he does, but I don't know. Is he getting minutes over Curtis Jones? Is he getting minutes over?
This isn't a minute thing, guys. This isn't a minute thing. This is like after seeing Demarion Watson do what he did against Oklahoma, it's await your turn. There is bro. It happens every year. There's gonna be a game where the starters are not showing up. We're gonna need an answer. So like the thought of like, oh, this kid's gonna get redshirt. He might hear that. Relax. He might watch the pod. Relax. I don't want to. I hate the redshirt conversation in May, in April and May. It's not necessary. But I just feel like a guy like that can contribute immediately. And there's as a freshman, bro, where people are in college basketball, where people are choosing to stay now. If you're not Carmelo Anthony, you're not starting. Yeah. Like, relax. You're gonna have to sit out for a year, or you're gonna have to just be a bench guy, and that's okay. You're playing for a Power 5 school in the best conference in the country. Okay, this is not it's not a diss on your play. Right. You got a lot of guys in your position. Like, that's a perfect excuse to be coming off the bench. I think Pierce can add a lot of upside for us next year. I think he gives me Deontay Burton vibes. Same. Like, he really does. So I feel he gets just his turn. He'll have a big moment. I feel it.
If you're not familiar with Dwayne Pierce's game and you're kind of down in the Iowa State Blues, because at least talking for myself, I really have no sports to watch until August. I'm not a big baseball guy. I don't really care about golf. I don't care about NASCAR. Like, I don't care about F1. So this is what I have. And the Brooklyn Nets stink. So I am
Braun basically had 40 on them the other day. Just saying.
Tyrese Halliburton just lit him up last night.
Someone was like, Halliburton's on fire, and then someone at quote tweeted was like, "Shut up, we're watching women's basketball." I was like, what simulation are we in? Tyrese is catching strays because Caitlin Clark is getting after it.
I think Tyrese had like 33 and 13 last night against my Nets. So Brooklyn's down bad. All I got to go on is I'll just be watching like old Iowa State basketball reruns that I have saved on my DVR and like Dwayne Pierce, like AAU highlights. So it's going to be a long summer is what I'm saying, but there is a lot of good with the incoming freshmen. I still think we're going to make some noise in the transfer portal. Hopefully we'll be able to talk about that a little bit more next week. Also scheduling update. This, as of now, will be, we will have one episode next week, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break. Just let the off season kind of happen. But like I said, I think there is a bunch of optimism for the future. I don't know if we're a 2 seed next year. Like I said, we're the number 1 team in America at defense. I don't know if that's the same case next year, but nonetheless, a lot of good talent returning, especially in this era of college basketball where there's so much turnover. To get essentially 4 starters back. I know Curtis Jones isn't a starter, but he's a top 5 contributor for this team.
Minutes-wise, he had starting minutes.
Right. To get 4 guys back is huge, and especially 4 guys like that. You get Demarion Watson back. I don't know. There's a lot of optimism I have for 24-25 next year.
Yeah. And honestly, man, here's the thing, too. It's why my advice to a lot of freshmen that come to Iowa State would be just wait your turn, man. Just be patient. Yeah. Because I think the Demarion Watson game against Oklahoma saved his Iowa State career.
Yeah, legacy game. And we kind of joke about that, but it really was. Like, I mean, that was exactly why you need a guy like Demarion Watson.
Well, and it's almost like I feel like that was kind of the moment where the coaching staff was like, it's him or Omaha. That happened. Like, Omaha's out. Well,
yeah.
So, again, I think the trajectory of your career here can change in a game. Yeah. Like, I think the coaching staff just needs to see one game where you weren't even in the game plan and you're still able to make an impact. That's how they know you're cut for this team. And man, it just hurts my heart because I know Omaha was very like putting the work in, and I think just giving the proper opportunity, he's going to shine. I just hate to sign in a Cardinal and gold jersey. But yeah, no, I really do wish him the best because he was a fun kid to cover in high school and a really nice kid too when I got the chance to talk to him. So I just know he's got a good heart. I know he handled this year a lot better than anyone else in his position who was a McDonald's All-American would have. Because as bad as USC was, Bronny was still playing.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, Jared McCain was Duke's best player this year, pound for pound. So I just to see, and that hurts too. Like I always thought like when Lexi Donarski transferred to UNC, a part of the reason of her leaving Iowa State was because she was seeing so many girls from her class just dominate the sport that she was like, I need to go to a top tier program in the country to even be in the conversation of the like those McDonald's Americans. Because bro, something about the women's about women's basketball, the generational class that like was that shift in momentum for them was the class of 2020. Ironically, the COVID class that we didn't even get to see them play in the All-American game. We didn't get to really pay attention to them in their freshman season because it was COVID. And to see how many heavy hitters came out of that class, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, Haley Van Lith, Lexi Donarski, Kylie Feuerbach, I'm missing some other Aubrey Jones. Like it was so many people down the line of like just heavy hitters from that class of like they really did change the game.
Yeah.
And it was really cool to see. And I just think Omaha may have had that feeling of like, man, I'm seeing all these kids that are my age have some impact on their team, and it sucks that I just don't get to have it. But he took the high road. You know, he kept his chin high, and you know he handled this year like a champ. So shout out to Omaha, seriously.
Also, I know nothing, but I think Omaha going to West Virginia to play with Tucker DeVries, you have the Waukee connection. I would rather him transfer out of conference, obviously, because I don't want to have to play Omaha. I honestly don't want to play Tucker DeVries either. But
well, you're going to, so buckle up.
But I think that's a potential landing spot for him. I think he'll have plenty of suitors, and I hope he has all the success in the world. It just sucks that it couldn't happen here.
Yeah, because it's like when Tyrese transferred to Texas, it's like, oh, yeah, now we get to hate on him. Like, the second he walks in the hill, F Tyrese, what do you do? F Omaha. No, like he didn't even do anything.
Right. Like, and it's not like he turned his back on our program. It was like freshman season didn't go how he thought it would. When he was in, he struggled with the pace of the game. I don't think it's the same as Tyrese Hunter. I don't think it's the same as Xavier Foster. It's like, it sucks that it didn't work out. We hope you're the best. I think that's kind of the general feeling about Omaha.
All three of those situations were different and weird in their own way.
Yeah.
Xavier Foster wasn't ready. Was not ready for Power 5 basketball at the moment. Like straight out of Oskaloosa High School. He wasn't ready. Tyrese kind of had the ideal freshman experience at Iowa State and was like,
Yeah, I think
this isn't enough.
And like he really put on for Iowa State, and the fan base embraced him so hard and what he was about. And then just to leave for like the biggest bag of money, it felt a little like betrayal.
Yeah. And then for Omaha, it's like almost like I get it. I get why you left.
Right.
So again, all those three situations are weird and all different. So I don't think, and I think those three situations for some Iowa State fans might be a little traumatic. So it's like, because you put so much like hype into those kids, it's the end of the world. It's not the end of the world, man. They're all 18. Like if you're putting all your eggs in an 18-year-old's basket, some of them are going to get broken. Most of them are going to get broken. They're 18. So again, I don't want those three kids to push us away from recruiting out of high school. I think it's very important. And I think going forward, outside of next year, it's going to have to be, all right, this is going to be the foundation. Can we develop people? The answer is yes. Let's develop people. And then think about this. If Milan is someone who stays for 4 years, he's going to be at the helm of all of these high school kids with all this potential and who are already born winners. And that's the formula. Like it's not always going for the Cooper Flags because honestly, Cooper Flag ain't looking at Iowa State. That's just kind of that's what it is. So, I just think a lot of, like you said, a lot of things to look forward to going forward. I think to have all of your guards coming back. I know the narrative for years was guards win games in March. For us, that didn't happen this year. But I just think with the right preparation, I think we might still be playing. Because, like, I really think we would have put up a better fight than Illinois.
Yeah.
Like, I just think we would have made that a tad bit harder for UConn. And I think UConn hadn't really seen someone who punched them in the mouth yet. Right. And, Dan Hurley's trying to play this like perfectionist basketball right now. And I think that's something we really could have taken advantage of, because I don't think any team ever has played a perfect game against us. Even Illinois didn't play a perfect game.
No, we lost by 3.
Yeah. And they let us get back in that game. We blew a 10-point lead.
We probably played like a C-, D+ game in Iowa State standards and lost by 3 to a good Illinois team.
So it's a lot to look forward to. Don't get all doom and gloom this summer. There's a lot of rainbow on the other end of the hill.
I was kind of thinking, if you're going to write a book about TJ Otzelberger's career, and right now we don't know how long that book's going to be, but this felt like the end of part 1. I don't know how many parts are in this book, but this kind of like Rob Jones was with him from the beginning. Like, this kind of feels like the end of part 1 to me. And I don't know why. There is kind of some finality to it, but now it feels like this is going to be Taman Lipson's team and Milan Momcilovic's team. And let's see what that era of sense can do. And, we still got guys like Keyshawn and Curtis, but it feels like next year it's going to be the Taman Lipsy, and Momcilovic is going to be the killer. That, at least to me, that's what it feels like. And I think Keyshawn and Curtis are going to be 2 incredible off-ball guards in Big 12 basketball.
I think Keyshawn or Taman, I think they can win Big 12 Player of the Year.
I think especially Taman. I like Fran Fraschilla was starting this bandwagon early of this guy is the next Jamal Shed, and there's a lot of similarity there, and potentially even more upside, because I think Taman Lipsey's a better player as a sophomore than Shed was as a sophomore. So
without a doubt. And think about this: Shed made a Final Four in his freshman year. So it's there. If those kids are coming from the same makeup and the comparison is there, I'm gonna put all my eggs in that basket. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, as much as you want to think about Xavier, Tyrese, Omaha, in Iowa State terms, they're all flops. But Taman wasn't.
No.
Taman's a hometown hero.
Momcilovic wasn't. He won't be. I mean, he already had a great freshman year. So, as much as you're going to miss and you're going to hit. And I think that's the case for every team in the country right now. I will say, odds in the transfer portal has been so good. We've rarely missed in the transfer portal, even early on. I mean, he was kind of getting guys because he had to. Brockington was a smash hit. Gabe Kalsher gave us 2 really good years. And that's kind of been Iowa State's identity since Fred. We've done a really good job in the transfer portal and kind of hit and miss with high school kids, basically since like Monte Morris's class, the Naz's, the Matt Thomas's. I guess Naz would have been the year before, but I digress. I think Iowa State has been so good in the transfer portal, and I'm really excited to see what this kind of new wave brings, especially with the foundation we already have. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, no, a lot of things to look forward to, man. I'm ready. I'm ready for next year. Like, I was in the Blues. This was a bad weekend, bad tournament. March kind of sucked, but hey, man, can't win them all. Because think about it. If you won them all, when you win, it wouldn't be a big deal.
Yeah.
So I think, guys, our time is coming. We just got to wait. We got to wait our turn, and we got to be ready when the opportunity rises.
Before we get out of here, I want your championship game and winner prediction for both men and women's now that we know the Final Four. I think my pick's going to surprise you, but I'm ready for it.
Well, I think you're going to pick Purdue, because I've seen the little – you've been throwing some hints at me I'm like, this guy wants Purdue to win. But
hold on. What DMs have you – I just called Fletcher Lawyer a cornball the last time we DM'd about anything. I'm not.
Did you hold on? We're on the conversation with Fletcher. You saw how he brought a chair back. He's like, "I'm taking this home," and then someone quote tweeted it. It said they made him put it back. Oh my god, that kid is so corny. It's not even funny.
So bad.
Oh, but to answer your question for the men's team, I think I got I think we're going to see a repeat of 06, 07. And it's so weird because I did not think this UConn team was going to repeat, especially being the number 1 overall seed. But I really think UConn has got it. I think they're finding a rhythm, and I think Dan is just a psychopath. Like, I think those guys just like, we can't lose. He'll kill us. So we got to win. But yeah, no, I think they match up with, they're the first team to really match up with Purdue well enough to where I think they'll be able to handle them for 40 minutes. And then South Carolina, I think they'll beat Iowa in the championship. And I think that because I forgot her last name, but Raven, number 25. Remember the girl they were just waving off last year?
Johnson. She's got
a burner now.
Yeah.
The Hawkeyes are in trouble, and I will be preying on your downfall. Back-to-back Natty Championship losses.
Nigel, I think the script has been so bad that they're going to do everything they can to get UConn, North Carolina State in both men's and women's. And I think that's what I want anyways. So
what? Brother,
why not? Have the
Zach
same
Edey is going to eat. He's going to cook DJ Burns medium rare,
bro,
to where the meat is falling off the bone. Just like it's gonna be nasty. It's gonna be over by halftime.
Zach Edey hasn't seen that footwork his entire life.
He can recover though. Like
he's gonna have that man in a blender.
Here's the thing: DJ has been able to match up every post matchup he's had as of yet. They've been the same height, so the advantage he has is his size. I think now, like, yeah, you can do a spin move, but Edey just has to reach, and it's gonna be glass. Like, I don't know. I don't like that. I don't see DJ lasting 20 minutes. I don't think his respiratory system is even healthy enough for all that. I think he might need an oxygen tank.
DJ Burns is a hero that March needs right now, and I'm just going to speak it into existence. If that guy can be cutting down the nets, and I don't know.
You want him to win the Natty?
Sure.
You're crazy.
And then we'll have Kevin Keith running around like
chaos happening, bro.
What? Come on. Why not? Why at this point? Why not?
Because this isn't Jim Valvano. I don't feel bad for NC. Their coach is on the hot seat going into the tournament.
If NC State beats UConn, who looks like the best team that I can remember in some time in college basketball, that is a great story. An 11 seed North Carolina State that wasn't going to make the tournament, and their best player is Jen Zebo. That's what America needs in this moment. And I'm here for it.
I don't need it.
And I'm here for it.
Look, in theory, at this point, I think Purdue, UConn would be a better game. And I think in the last few years, we've had very uncompetitive national championship games. Like, I've been itching for years to get a UNC Villanova. Like, I need something like that because we haven't had any of that all year. I mean, the closest thing we got was Houston, Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And just for
Florida, Colorado was a good game. I'm just trying to think.
But it didn't come down to fadeaway 3-pointer. Like, you know what I mean? I need something like that. And I think if you want something like that, you're going to have to root for the Purdue UConn matchup. But if DJ Burns, man, you do the unthinkable, I guess. Because, like, I guess we're just letting anything happen now. If he gets to the national championship, I guess we're just letting anything happen now. Because, like the committee has just shown we have zero integrity in this tournament. We don't care. We just want people to watch. And I guess I don't even know if people are like outside of those fan bases are that excited about the Final Four.
I think UConn Purdue would get a lot of casual interest. I think that's kind of the only matchup left. I don't think Alabama versus either team people would really care. I think it's kind of UConn versus Purdue or bust in terms of ratings. But I just want to see DJ Burns play 80 minutes of incredible college basketball and go down as a legend of March Madness. So that's where I'm at.
I can't say I agree with you because that's like saying, yeah, I want my little brother to take my girlfriend. Yeah, go ahead. You got her. You got her, little bro. You got it. No.
Duke has had their fun. You can let North Carolina State have 2 championships in program history.
I mean, not when it's at the expense of us. Like,
oh, come on.
No, man. If
you're getting Cooper Flag, you're fine. You're fine.
But okay, we say this every year. Like, we lose to some crap team, some team you were clearly better than. And then it's like, I tell myself, it's okay. We're getting Paulo Banchero. It's okay. We're getting Derek Lively and Kyle Filipowski. It's okay. We're getting Jared McCain. It's okay. We're getting Cooper. Like, how many more years? It's been 10 years of BS. Like, I don't want to keep losing to teams that are like worse than you. If you're gonna lose, man, lose to UConn. I can die on that hill. You know what I mean? Like, I just can't. Man, it's tough. It's tough when you lose to the fact that in the last 3 years you lost to Carolina and Carolina State. Bro, punch me in the face. Why don't you? Please. Yep. Like,
going out sad.
Yeah. It's that simple. You're just going out sad.
Nigel, you especially have had a tough week. Mine not quite as bad. Hey, it's nice when only one team of yours can lose. I'll be honest. I'm at times I wonder why my bloodline picked Iowa State to be like our one team, but at least I only have one team because I can't lose twice, and that's where you've been. So yeah. I feel for you. T's and P's go out to Nigel because he's been running a gauntlet.
I mean, and there's a lot of closeted Iowa State Duke fans. Like, believe me, I ran into a lot of them. With me being so vocal about liking Duke, I found out fast at Iowa State who was also a Duke fan, who's also a Carolina fan. Like, there's a lot of me's walking around campus because you like teams that you like since you were a kid, and then you end up going to Iowa State. So it's like, all right, I like this team too. And that's kind of where I fall in. I was already a basketball head. Iowa State was a school I chose to go to. But yeah, no, I mean, there's a lot of me's out there. So don't think I'm this weird, like bandwagon dude. Like, I ride or die hard for both of these teams. So don't get it twisted. It just hurts that more when both teams make the tournament and you go out sorry.
Yep.
So it is what it is, man. It is what it is. I have to learn to not let 18 to 24-year-olds dictate my happiness. For the last 10 years, I've let it happen. So yeah, it's an unhealthy attachment that I have with this tournament, and I need to just like not put all my eggs in this basket because it never works out. So
Nigel, before we get out of here, I just got some breaking news from our beloved Aiden Wyatt. Rajon Rondo, that was the first basketball jersey I ever owned.
Wow.
And was kind of like, yeah, I mean, I love Kevin Garnett, but I like me being the shortest kid in my class almost every single year until I was a junior in high school. I looked at Rajon Rondo on a basketball court, and I was like, that's stuff I can do on a court. I can't do what Kevin Garnett can do because he's 6'10". So shout out to Rajon Rondo, retired today, an incredible point guard. I think kind of the last of his kind. Chris Paul, kind of in that same just traditional point guard, pass and rock. Isaiah Thomas, 1980s kind of point guard. So yeah. Rajon Rondo, that dude was awesome from like 2007 to 2011, 2012.
2020, I mean, baby. Don't forget Bubble Rondo. Bubble Rondo was him.
Mickey Mouse ring.
Here we go.
LeBron only won it because they had to put him in a fake basketball simulation so he could win one for the Lakers. But that's all that was.
Hear me out. I didn't like Rondo for the longest time.
He was cooking Kobe in your. Well, no, you were always a LeBron guy. I forget.
Yeah, so when the Cavs went at him, I didn't like Ron. I didn't like Paul Pierce. I didn't like Garnett. I didn't like any of those guys. And then like being in Illinois, you also rooted for D Rose. And when they would go at it, I was like people would always give the Rondo and Rose compare. I'm like, this is chess and checkers. What are you talking about? Anywho, that was only for a few years, but I digress. When I saw Rondo in 2018 preseason, just to Chris Paul, I was like, I like you. Yeah. I like you. I've been wanting to do that to Chris Paul since like 2010. So Rondo, you went out like a G, and you will be missed because for that 2020 team for LeBron and AD, like there wasn't a big three. That was a year of like a lot of NBA duos, which I like. I want the NBA to get back to the big three era where everyone's got a big three, because it just ends up like where you don't have that compelling of basketball. I think when every team has a duo, it gives off that 90s basketball, Jordan Pippen, Stockton Malone, Barkley.
It's like NBA Jam.
Yeah. And I think that was a year where you had your dynamic 2, but then you had this like sleeper 3 in Rondo, who was just the difference maker in the playoffs. Like, it developed the jump shot and just controlled the offense. And I think, man, the next step for him, if you don't get an NBA coaching job, you might need to come to Ames, because that man would make a great coach. And I think I don't hate him coming down to the college level and kind of getting a really high position off of just who he is off the rip, because he's that good of like a leader. It's going to translate to a coaching job at some point. So I hope to see him on the bench somewhere, leading young men to prosperity in this sport, because he's the future. I think he's one of those coaches that is not going to be like a Magic Johnson where he tries coaching but it doesn't really work. Like, no, I think Rondo is going to be a great teacher of the game.
Yeah. And I wonder if he's going to be an assistant under Calipari, because he's like trying to get his degree at Kentucky right now. He's like on campus at Kentucky. So
yeah, and they got Tyler Ulis too. So that could be the direction Cal goes into going forward, just because of it seems to be like that's what Duke did. They wanted all their alumni being on the coaching staff for the most part, and it seems to be a good kind of, I guess, strategy. Which down the line, man, Iowa State might want to look into that. I think to be able to teach this system and this program, you got to have people in the coaching staff who have been through the gauntlet. Yeah. And as maybe a J.R. Blount gets a mid-major job, head coaching job soon down the line, you might want to start looking at old alumni that can fit and make really good coaches. I think that could be beneficial going forward.
Also, I think it's important to have young guys on your staff to be able to relate to college kids. I think it's hard for a lot of these coaches that are like Tom Izzo's age, or like a Jim Boeheim, kind of that old class, Roy Williams, Coach K. You saw a lot of them just staff their assistants with a lot of young guys just to be able to like Coach K doesn't know what TikTok is. There's no, like, you know what I mean? Like,
they had him doing TikToks though.
Just like if Jared McCain would have been like, Coach K, do you want to do a TikTok? Coach K would have been like,
he'd be like, no, that's stupid.
So yeah, that is something to keep an eye on, because I think that is kind of the future of retaining like former players, keeping a young coaching staff to be able to relate to these young kids,
and just keeping the culture. Like, I think you got guys that you can look down and be like, yeah, I've been through this too. Like, that's an easy thing as a player to look at and be like, all right, it can be done. Like, we just have to lock in. So again, I like where Iowa State's going. Outside of people chirping me from Illinois, I couldn't have asked for a better season. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a Sweet 16 for us right now is like an Elite 8 Final Four appearance for most teams. So we got to take it with a grain of salt. I hope that the only thing from here is up, because we've been in the Sweet 16 now. It's not a big deal. What can we do now? How can we elevate? And I think that's the next challenge for this program.
I think the Sweet 16 going forward is the expectation, and a Final Four should be the goal of this team going forward. And I'm not saying that's going to happen next year, but that should be the thought process that each player and coach has. We have to make the Sweet 16, and we should be a Final Four team. That's
without a doubt. Where
we got to be. All right, Nigel, we went a little long.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I think just
had a lot on my heart today, man.
I know. It was like a therapy session. So shout out to Cyclones. We got one episode. We'll be back to talk national championship next week, and hopefully a little more news on the transfer portal side. So looking forward to it. Nigel, anything for the listeners before we get out of here?
Just thank you guys once again for listening week in and week out. We really appreciate everyone out there. I remember Dylan hit me up in August to just giving the idea of doing this, and I was like already in love with the idea. So to see the support and admiration we get from all age groups, I mean, it really does make my day. And I really look forward to getting on here every Monday morning and Tuesday today, but most Monday mornings just to talk about, hoops with a guy that I was already talking hoops with, and they weren't paying me. No one doing this for free on the clock at KCCI.
Yeah.
So
an edit bay. So
oh yeah. So this season's been great. It's been like Dylan said, it's been a great year to start your podcast because there was so much to talk about. And I'm happy that we get to talk about this team and this program going forward in the direction that they're going. So again, we love you, Cyclone Nation. We love all the Let 'Em Cook fans out there. And my advice to you would be to stay in the kitchen because we're going to keep cooking.
Keep cooking. Let him cook. Go Cyclones. Love you guys.